Thank you for the opportunity to come along here today. I'm going to just take you through some of the things that we've been working on as a company in the artificial intelligence space to do with smart cities over the last few years. I'm a member of a team which was created in SAS as a focus on IoT and smart cities and artificial intelligence within them. So that's why I'm here today. I'm going to start with just telling you a little bit about SAS. I'm going to make this move forward a bit so you can understand that we are really only interested in analytics. That's all we do. Everything the company is about has been about helping people provide analytical insight in data for over 40 years. We're the largest privately owned software company in the world, and we have about a $3 billion a year turnover, and all we do is provide people with intelligence from data, and that's all we've ever done. If you want to just have a quick look, we're in sites all around the world. We have R&D centers in various different places around the world as well. And that allows us to have the ability to show you today some use cases from various diverse places that you may have come across in the past. But I'm going to start with a picture from one of my favorite TV shows, which some of you may, depending on how in the level of nerd you are, like myself, depends on whether you've seen it or not. We're not allowed to say the name of the show, so you have to look it up yourself later on. But they had an episode called about evolution, and it was about the ascent of bot. And the reason why I talk about it is because I think we're in a world now where our understanding of what we need to do with hardware and technology and data has very much evolved over the last few years. And a key area for us to pick on is hardware to start with. So let's pick something. And I'm looking at this room and I'm thinking there's not many people in here as old as me, so you may not recognize one of those, okay? That was the first portable computer launched in 1982. And in today's money, if you bought that new today, and it was new then, it would cost you $4,000, okay? Whereas in 2007, that was the first iPhone that in today's money is less than $1,000, even less now because it's quite an old phone, and could do things 100 times faster. It was 100 times lighter and was quite considerably less cost, right, than before. Why is that important? Because if you go and have a look at a slide from our friends, our partners at Cisco, you'll see that the evolution of technology and hardware directly reflects into the smart city space that we move into today. So if you start with something way back in 2004, you can see that there was something in the region of 500 million devices connected to the internet sometimes. In those days, you used to have dial-up, if anybody remembers that noise in the background as you try to connect to America Online or some equivalent type of product. And now, if you move forward only 15 years to 2020, the predictions from Cisco is 50 billion devices on the internet all the time. It's an interesting factoid I found today in the news, okay? There's 127 devices added to the internet every second around the world. Every second, okay? And that means there's a lot more data out there for us than you may ever have had before. But data in itself, as we've already seen from some of the discussions, is pointless unless you can derive something useful from it. And to do that, you need analytics, which is why SAS exists as a company. It's also worth saying the other way around. You can't actually do anything interesting with analytics if you don't have any data to provide the analytics that you want and to get the intelligence you want to derive. So how do we fix these problems? Well, in the past, this is a traditional analytics lifecycle. This is what we would implement. And you can go on to Azure today or other similar solutions, including ours, that can be embedded within all of the cloud platforms. And you can load data in, you can capture it from places, you can transform it, you can play with it, you can build your models, and then you can output results, okay? The problem is that in the days of today where we have so much data, the information you're building that analysis on can be out of date very fast based on circumstances and environmental change in the world. So what are we going to do to fix it? Well, let's have a look at the kind of data sources that people work with today. A factory produces 1 petabyte of data a day, right? A user on the internet uses almost 2 gigabytes of data a day. If you're my daughter, she's about 18, I think she's around about 6 gigabytes a day, right? But just slightly different, I guess. So if we have a look, what else could we do? Well, you can extend that analytics process to include new ways of analyzing data, perhaps in new places. And in smart cities, we've been focusing our efforts on streaming analysis. That means learning from the data as it changes over time, as it's produced by the sensors in the field. It also means taking our analytics and perhaps in certain circumstances for security reasons or for other reasons, separating the information out and keeping it air-gapped from the rest of the network until you need to be connected. And so we have solutions for that as well, working with our partners as well. We don't offer the entire platform. Remember, we are embedded within people's platforms. That's the purpose of SAS. So with those things in mind, I'm just going to skip through some of these a little bit to get to the hopefully more interesting, juicy parts. We need to just define what everyone thinks of as artificial intelligence. So for us, as SAS, we see it as being the science of training systems to emulate human behavior. There's two types of artificial intelligence. There's general artificial intelligence, which is more or less in the science fiction realm, and then there's narrow artificial intelligence, which is the stuff that we can do today to replace some of the mundane tasks that we might otherwise have done in the past as humans. We could do the narrow intelligence quite well, but we struggle to do any kind of general intelligence, though Google are doing their best to tell everyone they've already fixed that problem, right? All of these things around the edges of this circle define what we believe to be feeders into artificial intelligence, which is the core of everything that SAS does. All of these things, using data correctly and analytics correctly, can be improved or reduced in cost if you take them into account from a city perspective. And these are things that many of the partners we work with around the world are doing. So let's go and have a look at a couple of videos just to show you an example or two. So this one is where we have a customer that subscribes to camera feeds around the world, and they can click onto a camera feed, and then using the cloud tools, that's actually in Azure, this one. Oops, go back a bit. I may have got that too quick, sorry. Okay, we'll leave that one. But that one had a video feed of people walking around sensitive areas of a street, and the idea was that you could then analyze it and decide whether there's something important there. I'll try not to be too trigger happy on this. This one's in Japan, and what this one is, there's a customer intelligence example, and this one's live today being used in a retail experience in this street to capture the paths that people take as they wander through the shops, and depending on what kinds of things they do, then they try and change the advertising that they see as they move around. This one is my favorite one. I'm going to run them both simultaneously. On the left-hand side, you've got an example of security in the tube stations in London. So this is where one of our partner companies uses our technology to create relationships between objects. It knows that that case used to belong to that guy, and now he's not there anymore, but the case is. So that's intelligence they've derived over years of IP and development. Over here on the right-hand side, this lady is about to appear and drop her bag down there behind that table. When she does, we will no longer be able to see the bag, but the AI knows the bag is there because when she arrived, she had the bag. When she left, she doesn't have the bag. So it knows that. These are things you can do so that you can reduce the amount of chances of people missing really pertinent and important information from the screens that they're viewing and surveilling intelligence from. This one's a bit of fun just to show you drones. It's actually a real use case. In Dubai, the police film the cars all the time as they drive along the main roads, and they find them in real time with our streaming analytics. Isn't that lovely? Okay. If they're speeding. This is a partner of ours at Honeywell. It's an example where they actually examine foliage in smart city grids. So their idea is that they're looking to see whether there's lots of growth that needs to be trimmed away from power lines, and they're using the analytics models from SAS to help them do that. And then finally, I just thought I'd show this one if I can. Don't know if I can get it to play. But this one is actually running right now in India. They're looking at rickshaws, and they're trying to figure out how they can optimize how many they have on the road at any time to ensure that they don't overflood the roads with too many vehicles. That's the sort of examples that we've been working on around the world. With many partners, as I say, we're just a part of that ecosystem. So that's about it. I don't know if I ran over, my apologies. But the key thing to end on is that you can't really derive an intelligence from data without analytics, and the greatest source of data is the Internet of Things, and that's why in our world we talk about artificial intelligence of things. I had to run that because somebody spent a long time working on it. Okay. Thank you very much.